Okay, so yesterday we also talked about quadrilaterals. And a quadrilateral is a four-sided polygon. It has four straight sides and four angles. Now, under the quadrilateral like umbrella, there's lots of little different subcategories. So there's lots of different four-sided figures that have special names other than just quadrilaterals. Okay, so what we're going to talk about in this is looking for specific characteristics or specific keys that make a quadrilateral either a rectangle or a square or a parallelogram. Okay. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is a parallelogram. And a parallelogram just means that the opposite sides are parallel, our opposite sides are congruent, and opposite angles are congruent. So this is kind of like a rectangle that's been smushed over. Okay, so opposite sides, this side is congruent to this side, and then same thing with this side and this side. Opposite sides are congruent. Now, not all sides are congruent, but opposite sides are congruent. Opposite angles are congruent. So on this picture, it's showing us that this angle is equal to this one. And same with the angles that are labeled in A. Okay, so a parallelogram just means, if like I said, it's kind of like a rectangle that's been kind of smushed sideways. Opposite sides are parallel, opposite sides are congruent, and their opposite angles are congruent. Okay, now the difference between a parallelogram and a rectangle is a rectangle, opposite sides are parallel still, opposite sides are congruent still. The difference is that a rectangle contains four right angles. So on a rectangle, we can see that this side and its opposite sides are congruent. They're exactly the same. Okay, same with this one and this one. But a rectangle has four right angles. Okay, now the one that a lot of people get mixed up the most is a rectangle and a square. A rectangle just has opposite sides that are congruent. When we talk about a square, we're talking about all sides are congruent. Okay, so the conditions for our square are that our opposite sides are parallel. There are four congruent sides. So every single side length on a square is exactly the same, and it has four right angles. Okay. Now, a rhombus is kind of like a square, but it's slanted. It's kind of been smushed a little bit. Okay. So on a rhombus, the opposite sides are parallel. Every single side is congruent, and the diagonals are perpendicular. Now, we talked yesterday about perpendicular means that they meet at a 90-degree angle. Okay. So a rhombus, all the sides are congruent, and those diagonals where they intersect at a 90-degree angle. Okay, now the last one we're going to talk about is a trapezoid, and a trapezoid is a quadrilateral, and the only condition for a trapezoid is that it has one pair of parallel sides. So if you look at this example right here, we can see that these two lines run forever in the same direction, like they're never going to intersect. So those are our parallel sides right here. And that's it. It's a four-sided shape, and it's got a pair of parallel sides. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to use that information. You're going to look at the following questions, and you're going to classify each shape as one of these four quadrilaterals.